Hi team. So there are 4 techniques that you need to know how to do in iNZight or iNZight Lite. So I'm just going to demonstrate each of those 4 quickly in iNZight Lite. You can pause this and replay it so that you know how to do it. The first one is, can you add trend lines and curves to a plot? So if you go to iNZight Lite and you have your data imported in, then in order to get those, you click on Add to Plot. Then you change this drop-down box to Trend Lines and Curves. Then you can choose to add a linear model. You can choose to add a quadratic model, or you could choose to add a cubic model within there. So that is how you get those initial lines, and I would expect you to screenshot those. A linear model is always a good place to start. The second thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to get and interpret the equations for those models. So when you are in iNZight Lite, you need to click, once you've got any of your models, all 3, you can click on Summary, and within this window here, it gives you the equations and the correlation, which is important for the linear model as well. This is text. You can screenshot it, or you could actually just select the text and copy it and paste it into your document. The third thing you need to know how to do is to consider how sampling variability affects those with bootstrap models. So, looking at your plot, for any one of these models, if you click down here to add inference information, and you check this box for add inference, then what it does is it resamples, it takes a bootstrap resample, same as we did for inference, and it considers how sampling variability affects our model. If you go back to your trend lines and curves, if you unselect the model and reselect it, it goes through that process again. So you'll see how those lines are slightly different. You can do the same thing for the quadratic model. So you're looking to see how those lines, the majority of them should be close to your data. And again, if you unselect it and reselect it, or go through that process again, you'll get curves in this instance that are slightly different. Same thing for the cubic. And if you unselect it and reselect it, then you'll get resamples that are slightly different. You should use your eyes, use what you know of the context, and use this information to see which one of these 3 types of model fits the best, and screenshot it. Don't screenshot it with all 3 of them. It's too messy. But I would screenshot it once with the linear, and then once with whatever model you think does actually fit the best. The fourth thing that you need to know how to do is to consider prediction error by plotting residuals. So what we're talking about there is, if you have your model and you want to see if that model fits well throughout the data, then down here in this corner, you've got these options to store the fitted values and store the residuals. Storing the fitted values just stores the predictions from your initial linear model, this thick blue line in this example here, whereas residuals plots the difference between each actual point and the predicted value. So to be larger down here in the negative, larger here in the positive, larger here in the negative, whereas you want it to be sort of consistent throughout. So if you click this Store Residuals button, doesn't matter what you call it, just say OK, and then once it's done its thing, click Dismiss. Then you can change your variables here. So instead of plotting the weight, plot your residuals. And what you see here is that you've got a bunch of points in this quadrant that are all kind of below the line, and you've got points over in this quadrant that are below the line, whereas in the middle, you've got points that are all above the line. And you really want that to be consistent. You want it there to be about the same amounts above and below throughout the model for it to be a good model. And if you get residuals that look like this, then that suggests actually that a linear model is not a good idea and you should have a curved model. So those are the 4 techniques that you need to use for iNZight. You just need to then go and interpret them, and to be able to use, next week we'll focus on getting those predictions from the equations. Thank you.